So I'm speaking from the Asian Resource Centre. I've got a man here with me, Mr. Pratap Singh Panesa, who has totally lost sight in his one eye and is almost lost it in the other. And he would really like to know whether he can be registered as a blind person. And I didn't know what the procedure was. Yes, my name is Mr. Sondhi, S-O-N-D-H-I. She's more worried that the call didn't come through the receptionist. आपका डेट ऑफ बर्थ की जन्मदिन की है जी?
हाँ जी, 1913
1913 दी हैगी है 1913. Hello, it's he was born 1913. That makes him 65. Okay. From the very beginning, my father thought I was going to be a nuclear physicist. So I came to England to study science, which is what I did in public school, and which is what propelled me into a degree course in physics at the University of Birmingham. And then we can arrange a joint visit, and then we can go and see him and sort it out once and for all. Okay, thanks very much. Thank you dear. Bye-bye. Bye. So, ਅਸੀਂ ਇਦਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਜੀ, we'll come to your house, okay? I see myself as a black man much more than I saw myself when I first came to this country. When I first came to this country, I was an Englishman. For all intensive purposes, I was an Englishman because I had been taught all the etiquettes and mannerisms that an English boy would probably learn. ਉਹਦਾ ਵੀ ਐਕਸੀਡੈਂਟ ਇਦਾਂ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਰਜਿਸਟ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਲਈ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ, ਪਰ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲੀ ਸੀਗੀ. Handsworth was an area in Birmingham that was talked about for its social deprivation, for its lack of facilities, and that is where the students gravitated. I was part of that stream, so I came to Handsworth. Now, that for the first time showed me the whole nature of English society, and it brought me into contact with immigrant society in a very concentrated sort of way. In fact, I saw more Punjabis in Handsworth. I met more of my own countrymen here than I would have met back at home. In fact, the Punjabis in Handsworth taught me how to speak Punjabi. It was never the ultimate aim in my life to actually come and work in Handsworth. It happened in a sense by chance. And by the time it came to the Asian Resource Centre, I had a lot of background experience of working with people in different kinds of situations. Social workers themselves work in a cultural vacuum most of the time. And particularly in respect with to Asian communities, they are sometimes at a loss to know how to go forward. Just basically what to do in the first instance when they walk into an Asian household. And it is at that point that they look around for any kind of help that members of the Asian community can provide, and quite naturally they turn to something like the Asian Resource Centre. So you think that if you work in the same job, you get less pay?
Less pay, yes, that's right.
That's discrimination, isn't it?
You can take them to the court.
Yeah, we'll try anyway.
Provided you have a proof with it. You don't have proof with it.
Well,
because once you take these gentlemen to the court, you'll be sacked from the factory.
Well, that's right. I mean, it's the same problem everywhere. If you take action to claim your rights, you land up worse off. But at least you claimed your rights. It is not simply my parents, but the whole of Asian society that regards this job as something which is not really solid and concrete. They are glad that I'm there, but they can't understand why I'm there. Because I should really be married and working with my nuclear physics and be making a bomb and bringing up children and so on. You see, this is a completely contradictory approach in their ideas. I can find that out if possible from supplementary benefits. Just in case. Employment Protection Act ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਨਾ, ਉਹਦੇ ਮੁਤਾਲਿਕ ਜੇ ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ 4 ਵੀਕਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਵੱਧ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਨੋਟਿਸ ਮਿਲ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ. ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ 1 ਵੀਕ ਦੇ ਪੈਸੇ ਤੇ ਐਟਲੀਸਟ ਮਿਲਣੇ ਚਾਹੀਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ. That means 2 weeks money, 1 for week in hand and 1 for giving you notice. The more important aspect, more important work of the Asian Resource Centre is to bring Asian people together, is to recreate in them a certain amount of ethnic pride and a certain sense of identity, which in the face of a hostile community is in danger of being lost totally. You cannot ignore the religious dimension in people's lives. Whether you agree with it or not, you have to take account of it in your day-to-day work. A lot of people who come into the resource center also go into the temples, yes? And it is therefore incumbent upon me to acquaint myself with the kind of organization that takes place in the religious communities. One of the loveliest things about Sikh temple is its disorganized organization. The effect of people milling about, of going into the kitchens before the service is ended, and of the long drawn-out program that comes on and off intermittently during the whole day, with music punctuating the philosophical anecdotes. I would want to feel as easy in a Muslim place of worship or in a Hindu place of worship as I feel in the Gurudwara, because I believe the barriers that are set up by religion are false barriers. That in fact religions have a lot of things in common. Certainly the Asian religions have this sense of communal activity that needs to be preserved and needs to be encouraged in this country.
हर हर कृपाल कृपा प्रभ धारे गुरु ज्ञान दियो मन समझा
It isn't so much of a change to jump from an Irish Christian Brothers public school in India to a public school in this country. In some respects, Bedford School was just simply a continuation of my education. Being one of the 4 or 5 black representatives in a public school was quite awkward, really. I found it much easier to fall into a kind of British public schoolboy attitude, growing my hair long, being cynical about most things in society, and I didn't really care much for the defense of my culture because it was too difficult to do and I was too young. And in fact, I just lived in a kind of an ivory tower institution for 2.5 years. The Asian Resource Center has reached out so far into the community that when I go into schools and see the girls and boys there, they are part of a family who have already come into the Asian Resource Center for advice in other spheres. So it is good for them to tell me how they want to live in the future, what they think about their relationship to their parents and their relationship to each other.
But when you talk about marriages, you can sort of put them in 2 groups. You can have one group which is very strict, that's get married without even seeing the person, and there's this other group where you can go out with the boy or the girl after a certain time and then decide whether you do want to get married or not. which I think both systems are wrong anyway.
Yes.
I mean, if I took home a Jat boy or an English boy, I mean, my father wouldn't like it at all. I mean, he'd probably kill me first.
Some of the arranged marriages where, you know, the girl is also educated. In that situation, you know, the dominance doesn't show, but there is still the father of the boy already, you know, if he's still alive. He wants to maintain the dominant role, even though his son might be against it.
There are advantages in that, are there?
One thing
There
that's
are.
fine.
What are the advantages of an arranged marriage? Tell us.
The advantage of arranged
Of an
marriage,
extended family and
extended
an
family, is that the males are always dominant. Always. Males are chauvinistic.
Do you know that?
No, I'm not a male chauvinistic, but that's how it is. I mean, most parents, when they've just completed the wedding ceremony, oh, they say, thank God that's over. Honestly, they say, thank God that's one gone, or the next one to come.
Suppose, the arranged marriage, and you can't get on a tour no matter what, and the woman goes off. Where does the child stand? No.
Well, for a start, it's what do you mean by not getting on?
Just can't live together.
The woman does not marry a man in an arranged marriage to live with a man. She marries him to live with his family. It doesn't matter so much because she actually has her loyalties divided between him and each individual member of his family. So for instance, she has a certain relationship with his younger brother and with his father and with his mother. And in a sense, I mean, it has its advantages. It has its advantages because if in an extended family you become unemployed, there are lots of other wage earners around, you see, and it's a kind of a welfare state in itself. So for instance, if there are differences between the husband and wife, these differences will have to be sorted out in a communal way. The whole family will be involved. Relatives will be called from outside to mediate, and so on. And the bachola, the matchmaker, who has brought the marriage about in the first place, has a duty to put it right because he has brought them together. Yes. So in that sense, there are advantages in an arranged marriage, but you have to weigh these against disadvantages.
I think there's too many matchmakers around in our society.
You see, I see a lot of hope for the future vested in these young people. They are the ones who are going to grow up and live in this society. They are the ones who are going to stay here, make their lives here, have their children here. And it is towards them that people should look for encouragement and hope for the future.
If I had the money, I'd send my child to a private school where he could learn, properly, and be a nice young lady or a nice young man, whatever. Because you find when you send them to comparative schools, they get little tearaways and, So sending them to a private school, they'll be brought up properly.
I think I would give them more freedom than I have been given. And when it comes to mixing with other people, I would let them mix with, different races, as long as they don't get into bad company.
See, I find that most of the Indian children in England, they want to dress like the English people. So if I went to India, I'd keep my Western culture, but I'd like my children to, mix in with the Indians, and I wouldn't want them to feel that they should be like Indians because they're in India. It's the same way as what they're feeling, the Indians feel over here.
I think the problem of a cultural identity is foremost in the mind of any youngster who is in this country at the moment. It certainly was foremost in my mind. However, if their cultural identity is reinforced outside this English school system, then they will feel a certain amount of pride in their cultural expression, which will, in a sense, create or help in the creation of an identity at a later stage in their lives. I think that is the most important part of yoga, is that we actually deliberately tell ourselves to relax and to break away from the environment. Yoga for me is both a form of relaxation and a form of cultural exchange. it gives me an opportunity to meet an essentially white audience, to share both my ideas about ancient Indian philosophy and how it evolved, and from me to get a feedback from English society about how they view Asians in England, about how they see philosophies like yoga fitting into their lives. There's such a tremendous amount that the ancient Indian philosophies like yoga can give to English culture.
And hold. And relax. Stomach down first. Then the chest. And the chin comes in last. And relax completely. Hands move under the forehead. Deep breath in and out. And relax.
आया भी होगा ना, तो आया भी आप, उसने नॉक भी किया तो आपने डोर नहीं खोला है, तो इसका क्या मतलब हुआ? नो गुड. तो उसको भर कर भेजना है कि कौन सा टाइम पर आना है, तो उस दिन पर घर पे रखना, तो बच्चे को क्वाइट रखना, तो खोलेगा, डोर खोलेगा. The frustrations experienced in working with individuals and the frustrations experienced in working against the state bureaucracy can be quite recurrent in the Asian Resource Centre work from one day to the next. In the ultimate analysis, it's not directed towards the person, but it's directed towards the state and towards its insensitivity and towards its bullheadedness.
6 बजे आएगा ना, तो साथ में हमने 3-4 और आदमी के लिए भी नहीं दिया उसने. You see, a lot of people who have applied for registration of their families in this country are not getting quick replies from the Home Office. They are taking about 1 to 2 years to just register wives and children in this country. Now, so many people have come forward. I think that we should send in a collective. 2 साल हो गया. No, not 2 years in your case, 1.5 years. Anyway, bring all the letters this evening and we will write. Okay? Now, it's Mr. Gurbachan. Is 52 Woodland Road another address?
Traditionally, an Asian will bring his problems to the elders in the community and it will be discussed in a communal fashion. But to come to young people for advice is a radical change because it has never been done in the past, obviously. Now, because of that, elders have gained a certain element of trust in people like us, and if they can do it with us, my point is that they can do it with the women and with the young members of their society. And power will be distributed throughout the Asian community equally. We will get rid of our caste, class and other barriers. One of the most important aspects of the Asian Resource Centre is that it offers its services as a mediator. Now, for instance, there are problems in the legal field which have to be sorted out in the courts, in the English courts. Now, if a man comes along with that kind of problem, the Asian Resource Centre quite willingly becomes a mediator for that person and takes him along to an agency like the Handsworth Law Centre, where the technicalities of issuing a summons are better worked out through a solicitor than through the Asian Resource Centre.
Next time 2 महीना बाद में बोलेगा इशादुल्ला तुम्हें केस में वो साइन देगा तो 100 लगेगा हमारा वाल जाएगा 100 नाम दिया.
Yes, he's merely describing the manner in which the £100 was obtained from Ishadullah. I mean, when I think it came to signing the contract, the agent said, it will cost you another £100, and of course at that point he paid it over.
Yes. Quite clearly he must pay back the £200 deposit that Mr. Ullah left with him. The problem really lies on whether a case can be made for the £200 in all that Mr. Ullah paid for the services that were supposed to be rendered by this agent. We would certainly assist Mr. Ullah in putting together that argument, but obviously I'll need to take fairly detailed instructions from him.
Yes.
With your help, obviously, because he doesn't speak much English.
At present, the Asian Resource Centre is supported by charities, but managed by a group of people who either work or live in Handsworth or both. They are invariably young and interested in the future of immigrant communities in Britain. The committee decides upon the major issues and I am directed to put them into practice. And it is a method that makes us directly responsible to the community for which we exist.
No, I don't remember the case when I came in there. Yes. And this young Asian girl who's married to an arranged marriage to this bloke from India, you see.
That's right.
And she's pregnant, and the marriage is splitting up, and she so desperately wants to get out from there. I mean, I would think that if she wants to stay, I mean, there's nowhere else to go, we should take something like that in.
Don't you agree that it's one of the most delicate issues that concerns the whole Asian community? And just to say that we open up a hostel and take in as they present themselves to us, I think is very unrealistic.
Do we take referrals there from social services, or do we not?
Not just limited to social services, because social services will take advantage of that. And, you know, I mean, it's so easy for them to refer cases to us and say, well, can you take this girl into care as such? Keep her in your hostel. They've wiped their hands off the problem, because you're lumbered with it, not them.
The Asian Women's Hostel is here because the local authority cannot provide any accommodation for young single homeless people in the Asian community. The sort of young Asians who will use this hostel eventually will be those for whom all means of communication with their parents have broken down, so that they are left totally on their own and have to begin to build a life for themselves. And we hope that the hostel can provide the base on which they can do this. I would always hope to be linked to the Asian Resource Centre, because it is a tremendously exciting experiment, and it is working towards a goal that will probably never be reached in my lifetime in any case. I think my security has come out of the fact that I can feel comfortable in both kinds of society, the Indian society and the English society. I feel as if when I'm in English society, I know their sense of humor, their wit, their irony, in the same way as I can translate all those experiences into the Indian society, and that is what makes me feel comfortable. Now, Asians coming here would not have the chance of meeting English society in that way. Yes, in seeing English society in the flesh, in the same way that English society does not want to see Indian society in the flesh, and therefore those two groups of people will remain apart in the way that I have not. I mean, I have bridged the gap in a sense. The existence of Asian communities in Handsworth, their cinemas, their restaurants, their pubs, their shops, the Asian Resource Centre for that matter, they're all proof of the fact that Asian people are in this area to stay. And the sooner the English people realize it, the better. The quicker they will be able to start to live with Asian people or West Indian people as their neighbors. You see, the English attitude is very hypocritical. At the same time as it says, why don't they integrate? They don't really want black people to integrate. They don't really want them to be part of this society. They don't really want them to come here in the first place. And the National Front, you see, play upon this hypocrisy and make political capital out of it.
I walked into Wilkinson's, and the cashier, I went in to buy a Gillette razor or something, and then the cashier involved me in a half-hour discussion about how some old lady had been mugged by a black boy, and in fact that these black boys should be caught and made to bleed. It's not just that they should be given heavy sentences, but they should be made to bleed in front of everybody. Now this kind of lust for blood and this lust for revenge is produced in an atmosphere where there's a lot of social anxiety. And this social anxiety is caused by lack of housing, lack of adequate social amenities, lack of provisions of childcare, of education, or whatever, yes? And that is the situation that breeds, in a sense, a certain amount of racial hatred.